I'm ready. Repetition. I'm ready. Repetition.
Welcome everybody to the SpongeBob multiplayer, which straight off the bat added a couple new playable characters not normally found in the campaign, and starring me and guest.
Yeah, if it's not immediately obvious, I'm not guest.
I want to
So we
question, why did they opt to have robot plankton be playable instead of regular plankton?
Because of the size differences.
Yeah.
That's my guess.
So,
anyway.
so the way this works is that they took each of the characters, and by the way, this was originally just canceled concept art for a Robo Squidward boss fight. That unfortunately kind of got stunted a little bit in this.
It may as well still be a concept because all throughout these isolated lands and this isolated head with tentacles, we're just fighting robots. The same old way we've done throughout the entire game. That's it.
It's just fight. I think it's like fight 3 to 4 waves per island, and I want to say there's like 32 islands. It's a lot. And
not only that, but even though yes, there are multiple playable characters alongside the usual like SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy. When it comes to the new characters, their tactics are mostly the same, just with a few minute differences. Like Mr. Krabs is fighting with the
skull.
With the skull of
a
swordfish back in the
attack.
Exactly the one Krabs is trash episode.
One Krabs.
Squidward fights long range with his clarinet. And then there's also I forget exactly what Roboplankton does.
He fires from his little blaster.
Yeah, I was going to say that's how we did that. Was that there of the 4 characters, 2 of them are close range, 2 of them are ranged.
Mm-hmm. And then there's Gary, who I believe fights with a. I forget exactly what his normal range attack is, but he got
ground pounder.
He ground pounds with his shoes.
The ones that he knew how to tie his shoes with. But yeah, beyond that, it's just again, it's a lot of little arenas, and you move between each of the islands, and eventually you get to a button that can dismember one of his 6 tentacles.
I sure do hope, Mr. Krabs, I'm getting paid overtime for this.
Sorry, can't hear you.
I'm getting paid. Oh, that's for the step 4. So it's go ahead.
A quick observation. I know it's just him doing like the iconic walk that Mr. Krabs does, but from this long angle, it looks like he's just hovering through the area.
It does kind of look like that, yeah.
I'm asserting me dominance, boy.
I'm asserting me dominance, Mr. Squidward.
But yeah, no. So, giving props where it's due. I like the little details in their attacks and things, and for this is still more than what we were expecting from this little remake. Was actually giving them full move sets and animations for walking around and stuff. That's really nice. But not gonna mince words. This is a little shallow, and like James said, it gets old very quickly.
Like the whole let's be real here. When it came to fighting robots in the main campaign itself, while that is a whole thing you could do in the game, it was never like the full focus.
Right.
Sure, there'll be the occasional there are the occasional combat sequences, but they usually don't last more than say maybe a minute or two.
The combat was more The combat was more so a chore or another obstacle in the grand obstacle hunt or obstacle course that was the platforming.
Like this wouldn't be too bad if maybe all the characters had more elongated move sets, kind of like your traditional Platinum or Capcom beat 'em up.
Right.
But as it stands, it's no, you're killing off enemies the exact same way, and it's not it's not even like in say the main campaign where you have some of SpongeBob's more advanced abilities.
This is awful.
Who's
gonna write my paycheck?
Exactly.
There you go.
But it's
we're actually almost done.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. I was saying after we beat this wave and get to that button, that'll be the first leg of this journey done. There's that's right. So there are 30 islands in total, and whoa, I'm flipping out.
We're ready. There to go.
But what was I saying earlier? It's you don't even have any of SpongeBob's more advanced movesets either. His bubble powers basically. You're mostly just stuck with this stuff, and it's it really does make the combat a lot more monotonous when you remove those key features.
Yeah.
It's definitely as much as I like Banjo-Kazooie, I would not like a game mode where you do this for 30 minutes long.
Me neither.
It would get very old.
And that's how long this multiplayer mode is too. Like literally 30 minutes. That's all. This is all you get.
This is it. So there were some negative reviews about this, especially because like people were like, oh, it was one of those things where people wondered like why even bother because because with the multiplayer again, it's old. Not a lot of people did it. You'll also see some elements of what was supposed to be a canceled level, Patrick's Dream, put into this as well. That'll be when we get to like the suites and stuff further down the line, and just everyone's kind of bummed that like this is how you fight the Robo Squidward. It's just fight a bunch of enemies, break that off, and he just stands there.
I mean, honestly,
sort of not, kind of, yeah.
I mean, honestly, I think one thing that could have helped this mode is like maybe when you get to these islands, the objective isn't always just to kill off all the enemies. Maybe there could be it'd be kind of like I don't know, like a much more focused take on Lights, Camera, Pants.
Wow.
Where like it was a whole bunch of like little side objectives or mini games. Like collect more of the shiny objects than your other player, or get more mooks than the other player. Treat it less like a cooperative thing and more like a competitive thing.
Yeah, as it stands,
and whoever gets the more kills on Robo Squidward would be the winner.
Oh.
Yeah. Now, as it stands, this is as you see, you also have infinite lives basically. As it stands, I think how to put this. If you die to a wave, you all you have to do is just fight that wave a second time. That's all that changes. But otherwise, yeah, this is 100%. I think the last thing they touched before the game released.
Yeah.
Right.
So now that we got that out of the way, Sammy, I haven't heard you talking in a while. I'm so sorry about that. What did you think of what you saw of this game today?
Sammy?
Sammy? Oh, she's deafened.
She couldn't handle it.
She went off to Dreamland.
Well, I'll remind her when she gets back. Until then, Hype, what did you think of Rehydrated as a concept, whether you had played it or not, or just was watching us play it?
Okay, before I get my thoughts on the game proper, I will agree with you that this Horde mode is basically worthless. Yeah. I appreciate and honestly, it's just kind of not only worthless, but also feels like kind of a lie, because one of the big selling points for Rehydrated was like, and they were very vague about this, which makes it even worse, is that like they tease the idea of bringing back a lot of cut content, including like the Squidward boss and the level, like the way they worded it made it sound like the cut content and the multiplayer stuff were separate things. So when we got this, and it's like, oh, so it's not exactly what you guys promised us.
Yeah, it was just all relegated to a single thing of a look, don't touch, and that was all it was.
Don't touch.
I guess I'm kind of it's a little bummed. Welcome back, Sammy. So sorry, I have to say
No worries.
Sammy, I was gonna say it's been a little while. We hadn't heard from you for a bit. So sorry. What did you think of what you saw of Battle for Bikini Bottom? Because this is pretty much going to be what you're seeing here is pretty much what you're going to get for this whole video in terms of like visual stuff. So, what did you think of what you had seen from Rehydrated today?
Honestly, I really enjoy like the aesthetics. Honestly, they're really nice and it does look good. I will say like sometimes it looks a little too plain, but oh hello there, Squidward, you died.
I'm okay. There I am. I'm alive now.
But
back to you.
But like that, it does look good. It does make me a little interested. I can say that much. And
I will say like at its core, like as a collectathon goes, it's pretty okay. Like the worst part, thank goodness, the worst part of this game is relegated just to this multiplayer mode. That's really all there is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something you never have to really touch if you can help it. It's just there is a somewhat hollow bonus.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm looking forward to Cosmic Shake, because it looks like Cosmic Shake is going to be original content from them, and more so based on the part of this remake that did work, being the single player.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I guess there's something else that's worth mentioning, is that, I mean, when this game did come out, and not long after that, like, the modding scene got fairly busy, and so much so they were actually able to get the new playable characters to work in the main campaign. Only downside is that, well, naturally, they're not quite as varied in their move pool as the main three, so naturally, sometimes, like, like if you're playing a Squidward, for example, you'd probably get stopped pretty hard at a very specific point, so you'd probably have to swap to someone else.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure, because like again, there's some things that are context sensitive to either Sandy's glide, Patrick being able to pick things up. Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Sorry, back to you, Sandy.
Yeah, sorry I disappeared for a little bit. Like, I was saying goodnight to my mom and my dog, who was, who had her whole body, her whole belly up and was wanting pets.
Oh, you can't say no to that.
Why are you not petting me, human?
Mr. Squidward, tell me, darling Pearl, that she's worth more than 5 cents.
Have a soul, Mr.
Have a soul, Mr. Squidward.
Let's take a stroll, Mr. Squidward.
Damn it, I like that thing. I'm not
Pay
usually
the
one.
toll, Mr. Squidward.
That poor man. I'm not usually much for another tentacle down, one more, and then we can swap. I'm not usually one for the. Here I have a. Oh, we're up to the Patrick dream content now, but I'm not usually one for the.
Oh.
I'm not usually one for the guy holds a plushie in front of the camera and acts like that thing, but again, like I always like that bit. It's why I love that one Vine, the surprise, motherfucker, wrong size, motherfucker, disguise, motherfucker, rude eyes, that whole thing. I love that kind of. I love things that rhyme. That always gets me. It always gives me a little giggle.
Yeah.
Careful, hype.
Nah, it's fine.
And also, my dog is completely protective of my mom. She won't even let me hug my own mother. She's like, no.
Oh, I have a friend.
It's like-
I have a friend who has a dog just.
It's like,
Have we not established that this is mine, human?
And I'm like,
Straight
but I
up,
came
my
before
friend.
you.
Excuses.
Straight up.
How's your sister?
Why are you making this dog like some like abusive like German proctor?
I don't know. It was like
Excuses.
it just started off as just a dumb voice I put together just to see Sam's reaction, and ever since
like
then
the-
she's just adopted that as Pepper's canon voice.
It's pretty much Pepper's
it's
Cannon boys.
It's adorable and it reminds me of how Mr. Weasel of how Professor Weasel says squirrel.
Squirrel.
It's just
What
like,
did you say
oh,
about the
man.
squirrel? Human, get me the squirrel.
What does that voice remind me of though? That yeah. Oh,
Oh,
you know
rest
what that
in
does
peace,
actually?
Mr.
That
Krabs
actually,
again.
that actually does.
Oh.
Where am I? Run, Mr. Squidward! Run!
Now, what'd you say it reminds you of what?
There's this one animation. Do you remember the Kirby Guardian series, but all the teeny Kirbys?
Oh yeah, that's cute. I wonder what the next episode's that's gonna be, by the way.
I don't know, but I'm super looking forward to it. I actually really am liking the story he's trying to tell with it. But
Oh, yeah.
before that, he had a couple of animation tests, which one of them starred an anti-Adeline and anti-Ribbon, like voiced by him. And I remember he did like this high-pitched voice for all of them, in which anti-Ribbon sounded Scottish for some reason. Kept calling Adeline Lassie. It was weird, but that's why that voice reminded me. It's like
I would wait if I wanted to be a nerd lassie.
anyway, whole thing.
Actually, speaking of Scotch, that just reminds me of like the one gag from the episode with SpongeBob's cousin. And Mr. Krabs talked about how, like, all the relatives he had to fire, one of them being Sandy's Scottish, I think, uncle or something. Hey, 'tis true! And then you cut to, like, Squidward's nephew. Whatever.
Such a weird world that was.
I even turned down me 3 adorable nephews.
But Uncle Krabs.
Such a weird world that was. All right, with that, we're actually already almost to the end of this current journey, but then we'll have to start back up anew.
Yep, start off fresh.
Actually, you know what? I think the way we did it was we got to Island 15, not after the tentacles were destroyed. We got to Island 15, and then we reset, and then we swapped.
Give it up for Island 15!
Yeah, which
So,
for those keeping track, that did mean that James and I needed to play this mode 1.5 times to get this footage.
Okay, that answers the question I was about to ask.
Yeah, no, you cannot swap characters after you started. So literally, we did 15 rounds, quit, restarted, swapped to the characters we would continue on from there, and started from the beginning.
You know what? That would be like it'd be like the whole revisit of like what we talked about in Mario 64. The whole one more time.
Yeah, pretty much.
It was a long day, but all right, well,
And I would never do it again.
No, I'm done with this mode. Again, the campaign I could see myself playing in over the course of a day to have fun, but not this.
Watch if they end up making another horde mode for Cosmic Shake.
Just make it fun. That's all I'm asking. Make it fun and worth our time.
Well, thankfully, from what I'm seeing, there's no real incentive to try to go through here. Like, you don't get anything if you beat it.
No, it's 100% optional. Before we swap over to Hype, did you have anything else you wanted to add on to your thoughts on the game, Sammy?
Not really.
Okay. Alrighty, Hype. So back to you about your thoughts on this game, on the main on the solo campaign.
Right. I mean, obviously. So, like, regarding the solo campaign, I appreciate it for what it wants to do. And
There we
to
go.
an
Now we
extent,
need to switch.
there you go.
So yeah, again, you'll get to see how this movement system works. Again, I'll be the ranged fighter, and you'll see how Gary works about.
So anyway, like I was saying, like, I appreciate this remake for, trying to be the best it can, and to a certain extent, I think it succeeds at it. Like, the game looks great, and I appreciate a lot of the little touches that it did. Although I still am of the opinion, and I know I'm not the only one that feels this way. I know there's like a handful of people that feel this way. I think even Antude mentioned that in his review, but this feels like a remake that more so prioritized like fan service and improving the visuals over improving anything else.
Yeah, they were. I guess you could say it definitely was trying to be faithful to a fault.
Yes.
Which, I mean, it's still weird, though, because I'd still say gameplay-wise, there are definite improvements to this over the original.
I'm not gonna say that it's like completely untouched. I just felt like they didn't do enough to fix the original.
Like, I guess I feel like I forget if we actually even brought that up. Like, what would you want to have changed up or fixed?
Well, a lot of the levels and some of their puzzles I feel like could have been retooled, or in some cases just flat out removed. Like, for example, I know we brought it up, but I still think the Murmur puzzle is a little bit tedious, as well as the whole, Stone Tiki side quest in the Kelp Forest. Like, a lot of missions that I'm sure, even the most die-hard Battle for Bikini Bomb fan would look at this and goes, we wouldn't be upset if you, maybe changed this for the better, but they just chose not to.
I mean, I guess I could also ask this. Would you have preferred if this game, kind of like the Castle of Illusion remake back in 2013, it's still Battle for Bikini Bottom, but they changed it more or less from the ground up?
I guess that would really depend. I think that would depend on how extensive that is from the ground up, because I don't want it to be to a point where it's unrecognizable from the original game. Again, the most I want is just certain levels and puzzles to be rethought or just removed, in addition to some of the quality of life changes to the gameplay.
That's fair.
I can see that. So that I guess brings up I walked into the water. So that I guess brings me to a thought I didn't think about, but I guess something I should probably bring up is. So I mentioned a long time ago in this commentary that that speedrunners had been involved in the at least in the sort of overseeing process of the game's development, and I guess it got me wondering that so a lot of them they wanted to make sure it felt the same and they want to make sure it controlled the same way, which now has me thinking I understand that. All speedrunners care about is not just speed. There's other things to it, but it does make me question if they were to ask the speedrunners for assistance or details or insight into this development, could that hurt a game in the case of if a game had an exploit that because it controlled so poorly or because there was this little thing that that the speedrunner was used to, so they prioritized that over actually trying to improve the game, could that hurt the game as a whole if they're keep this the way I remember it from 15 years ago because I'll be mad if this is any different, and that's maybe why this game didn't get the same TLC it maybe needed at the time.
I honestly would say
sure.
that's the case because it's really one of those things where it's I think it'd be unfair to say it's to a full degree because, I don't know the extensive history behind this game's development. But I feel like if you try to cater too hard to a particular group, like what you brought up, for instance, if you cater too hard to the speedrunning community that this game has, it's the speedrunners will be impressed, but you have to remember that's not the only target audience that this game is going to be gunning for.
Right. So all the more, I'm very curious to see what's going to happen with Cosmic Shake. It looks like I forget if it's going to be a full open world collectathon or if it's going to be more linear, like SpongeBob SquarePants movie or
well, from
or
what
Creature
I've
from the
seen,
Krusty Krab, because some of the levels look pretty linear from what I saw in the demo footage.
I'm guessing it's just going to be like a case-by-case basis, because again, like, we only have like the one, from what I've seen, we only have like the one world to go off of in terms of like full footage.
I guess so. Because yeah, the two levels that jump out to me is the linear section with the karate gloves where you're like hopping about the rooftops, and the linear section of getting to the top to stop the dreaming Gary kind of thing.
Right.
So, I don't know. All right. Well, I guess with that, James, your thoughts on Rehydrated?
I mean, I do still think it is a very solid remake. It's a solid remake that was unfortunately, basically its release just did not help it at all.
Right.
They rushed it a little bit.
Mostly because it was because of corporate mandates that they wanted to have it all out and ready for a movie that wasn't able to make its own release date in time. So
that's right.
It kind of makes the whole thing. It kind of makes the whole opening month or whatever of this game's release all the more tragic. But I guess at the same time, it doesn't mean an awful lot because it seemed to have bounced back pretty well afterwards. And I mean, now it's come to a point where, like, this game sold incredibly well regardless, and well, now it spawned a full-on sequel that hopefully will be as good, if not better. And this time won't have to worry too much about needing to coincide with another fucking product.
I don't believe there's any upcoming SpongeBob movies or even TV shows for that matter. The only
I know there are some that are announced, but I don't know if they have any solid release dates yet or not.
The only thing I could think of is maybe they would try to tie it into an anniversary for the show itself, but I don't even know what anniversary we're up to at this point.
Man, I would feel like a Gramps if we're at the point where SpongeBob's now turning 30.
That's still going to be a good while, so you'll be fine. I want to say we're not even at his 25th yet.
I'm looking up now. SpongeBob first episode was released in 1999.
So 23. They're 23.
Give it 2 more years.
Yes, 23. Yep. So hopefully this will not coincide with its 25th, or who knows? Maybe it'll actually be for the better, and it'll be ready by next year. But they'll tell it to wait 1 more year to coincide with the 20th. That way they can or 25th. That way they can actually give it a little extra time in the oven to not, I am all for the opposite of crunch here.
I guess it depends. Like, obviously, crunch is a big no-no at the end of the day. But if you're able to make it ready beforehand, I'd say just go ahead and get all the necessary bugs fixed or whatever. I'd say go ahead and release it then and there.
Yeah,
remember. Nobody wants to be a Rayman Legends.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. I forgot how long that one. Fair enough. I guess, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I already gave most of my thoughts on the game, but yeah, no, it's still very fun. It was nice to be able to relive my childhood through this moment camera thing. And my god, this is the final wave, but like 30 robot enemies on screen, both ranged and close range, and you always have these shockwaves following you, which I think I also thought was a bit lazy, was that like it's just an explosion of a shockwave. That was the biggest disappointment about this whole thing for me, despite how long it goes, that you never are actually fighting Robo Squidward. He's just a glorified Duplicatotron or whatever that just like watches from afar. There was never any meaning, which would make sense of why you want to actually kill them. But with that, done.
Goodbye, Robo Squidward.
We hardly knew ye.
That's
And look,
that.
everybody, there's my wins. That's it. Go home.
Jeez, so
It really-
anticlimactic. It's hateful.
I know. So, any other thoughts before we wrap up and I get a drink?
Okay, so the name of the new show is called Nocturne.
Nocturne. Okay.
Makes sense, considering I think the Japanese name for something that was Nocturne in the Moonlight. But that's Castlevania. We were still on SpongeBob technically. So with that all said, ladies and gentlemen, we are so terribly sorry for giving you that boring bit of filler. But if and when it ever comes around, I will be taking over for Cosmic Shake.
Okay. I do have one other actually kind of random thing that just was announced today.
Oh.
Speaking of our whole remaking kind of thing, apparently it's just been announced that Ty the Tasmanian Tiger 4 will be coming to the Nintendo Switch.
Wait, what?
Like straight up, okay, so as we're recording this is actually the 20th anniversary of Ty the Tasmanian Tiger.
Okay, that much I remember, but
And they just announced today via email that Ty the Tasmanian Tiger 4 will be coming to Nintendo Switch.
I mean, bitchin'. But they're still missing Ty 3 though.
I know, and I don't know what they're gonna do. That actually makes it very awkward. Now they have to kind of address. Well, you're about to have Ty 1, 2, and 4 on the Switch. Where's 3? But for now, Ty 4 is in production. Apparently, they're actually giving it full English voiceovers now.
Oh, nice. Okay, that's definitely an improvement considering the original game didn't have any.
So I'm gonna keep an eye out for that. It still looks like it's odd, kind of like 2D flash animation like thing, but
I do honestly hope they do fix up the gameplay a little bit though, because it was obviously because it was mostly made as a mobile game. The gameplay, the platforming was a little on the jank side. But
I'll keep an eye on that.
I'm sure with enough TLC. Anyway, I realize we've been drumming on this.
Yes, that's enough. Right. We'll keep an eye on that in the future. Have a good one, everybody. Thank you.
And so, without further ado, we will see you all next time in another SpongeBob game in another SpongeBob time.